The warning. The wind howled through the broken ruins of planet Cryon. The air was cold, thin, and full of dust. Sharp rocks jutted out of the ground like broken teeth. Nothing here was alive anymore, except for one figure, tall, armored, and proud. Her name was Zilari. She was not human. Her skin had a faint silver glow, and her eyes were deep red like burning coals. She moved like a soldier, fast and focused. She had come to this dead planet for one reason: to find the core flame, an ancient power source hidden deep in the ground. As she walked through the rubble, a low voice stopped her. "You don't belong here," the voice said. She turned quickly. Her blaster was up. Standing behind a broken metal pillar was a human man, wrapped in a long, dark coat. He had a beard, some old scars, and tired eyes. He raised both hands to show he wasn't a threat. "Who are you?" Zilari asked sharply. "Name's Dane," the man replied. "I'm the last one left here, and if you're smart, you'll turn around and leave." Zilari frowned. "You think a human can scare me?" Dane didn't smile. "Not me. This place. You don't know what you're walking into." "I'm here for the core flame," she said. "I've trained all my life for this mission. I don't need your warnings." Dane looked at her silently. Then he pointed behind her. "See that hole in the ground?" She turned and saw a wide crater. Inside it were broken machines, bones, and melted armor. Alien symbols were burned into the ground. Zilari narrowed her eyes. "A dozen before you came," Dane said. "All of them strong, brave, arrogant. None of them made it out." Zilari turned back to him, her voice sharp. "So why are you alive?" "I listened," he said simply. "I didn't try to take what wasn't meant to be taken." She laughed, a cold, sharp sound. "Weakness kept you alive. I don't need weakness." "Maybe not," Dane replied. "But pride can kill faster than any weapon." Zilari turned away. "Enough talk, stay out of my way." Without waiting, she jumped down into the crater. Dane didn't stop her. The deeper Zilari went, the darker it became. Her suit's lights lit up the walls. She saw old carvings, long dead bodies, and shattered weapons. The air began to feel heavier. Her breathing slowed. She tapped her wrist. "Suit. Check filters." "Filters operating at 64%, the robotic voice replied. "Unknown particles in atmosphere." Zilari's face stayed calm. She pressed forward. Suddenly, her light flickered. Once, twice. Then everything went dark. She paused. Suit. Restart. Lights. No response. Something moved in the shadows. A whisper. "Turn back." Zilari spun around, blaster ready. Nothing there. A second whisper came. "Leave while you still can." Her fingers tightened on the trigger. "Come out," she shouted. But there was no one. She turned her light back on. This time it stayed. The walls looked the same. But her heart beat faster now. She shook her head. "Holographic tricks," she muttered. "I won't be fooled." She walked further and reached a large door. Ancient, sealed, glowing with symbols. This was it. The core flame was behind this door. She touched the panel. Suddenly, the wall behind her cracked open. A loud noise echoed through the space. Zilari turned fast, gun raised. It was Dane. He stood at the edge of the shadows, face serious. "I told you. This place plays with your mind. It knows your fears." "I don't fear anything," she snapped. "You will," Dane said. "Once the door opens, it won't let you go until you pay its price." Zilari stepped forward. "I don't need your stories, human." "Fine," Dane said quietly. "Just remember, I warned you." He turned and disappeared into the darkness. Zilari faced the door again. Her fingers hovered over the control. She whispered to herself, "Let it come." And with that, she opened the gate. A wave of cold air rushed out, slamming into her. But what followed next was not wind. It was a whisper. Whisper that knew her name. The moment the ancient gate opened, a wave of icy air struck Solari's face. Her armor tried to adjust, but the chill cut through like a living thing. The corridor beyond the door glowed faint blue. Dust floated in the air like snow, and silence wrapped the space like a blanket. She took a slow step forward. Every footfall echoed. Behind her, the gate slammed shut on its own. Solari turned quickly and tried to open it again, but the panel was dead. Locked. She was trapped inside. Her lips tightened. "No problem," she said to herself. Mission first. She raised her weapon and moved forward through the corridor. The walls were smooth. Ancient symbols glowed faintly along the sides. Some pulsed, almost like breathing. Solari's breathing grew shallow. Her helmet's visor showed no enemies, but the feeling in her chest tightened. She felt watched, hunted. She kept walking. Minutes passed. Then the air shimmered ahead. Her visor beeped. Warning, energy fluctuation. Detected. The shimmer grew clearer, forming into a shape, tall, wide-shouldered, familiar. Solari froze. It was her sister. But her sister had died years ago, burned alive during a training mission. "Zyra?" Solari whispered. The figure didn't speak. It stared at her with empty eyes. Then it turned and walked deeper into the chamber. Solari's heart pounded. "You're not real," she said. "You're not real." But her feet moved anyway. She followed the ghostly image through another archway, into a wide room. Strange blue crystals pulsed in the walls. At the center was a platform. On top of it rested a floating orb. The core flame. It was smaller than she expected. Bright. Alive. Humming with power. Solari stepped closer. The ghost of her sister disappeared. She reached for the orb. Her fingers touched the light, and pain exploded. Through her hand, she screamed. It felt like fire ran through her veins. Her armor lit up red with warning signs. She dropped to her knees, shaking. The orb stayed floating, untouched, still humming. Then something changed. Solari's body felt heavier. She looked at her hand. It was glowing. Her skin burned. Her veins turned black for a moment before fading. She gasped and fell on her side, panting. She had touched something she didn't understand. "Not so easy, is it?" came a voice behind her. Dane. He stepped out of the shadows, holding a small emergency light. His face looked sad. Not mocking. Sad. "I told you not to touch it," he said gently. Solari tried to rise, but her limbs were weak. "You followed me." "I knew you'd try," he replied. "They all do." "I'm not like the others," she said, wincing. He kneeled beside her. "You think pain means you're weak? That only others can fall?" He looked at her hand. "This place feeds on pride. That was your first price." Solari gritted her teeth. "I don't need your help," he sighed. "I don't offer help, I offer truth." She pushed herself up slowly. Her legs trembled, but she stood. "You said others came here before me," she said. "What happened to them?" "They refused to listen just like you," Dane answered. "The core flame tests everyone. It shows them something they fear or regret." Solari looked around. The vision of her sister. It hadn't been a trick. It had been a wound. A deep one. "I thought I had buried her memory," she said, almost to herself. "The core doesn't care what you bury," Dane said. "It digs it back up." She looked at her hand again. The pain was fading, but a faint scar now remained, dark and twisted. "You didn't touch it, did you?" she asked him. "I did," Dane replied. "Once, long ago. I still dream of what—" It showed me. She studied him. For the first time, he looked less like a scruffy survivor, and more like someone who had walked through hell and survived. "Why are you still here?" she asked. He stood slowly. "Because one day, someone might come who listens before it's too late." She scoffed weakly. "Well, I already paid the price." "No," he said. "That was just the first one." The air grew colder again. The orb pulsed once, then dimmed. Suddenly, the walls around them began to shift. The floor rumbled. "Time to move," Dane said quickly. They ran down a new hallway that opened behind them. Doors slammed shut as they passed. Lights flickered. Whispers followed them in the dark. Solari stumbled once and Dane caught her arm. "Don't stop," he warned. "It's testing you now. It's only just begun." Together, they vanished into the darkness, while the core flame pulsed behind them, watching. Solari followed Dane through the narrow passage as the walls behind them shifted and closed. The ground shook with every step, and the air buzzed like electricity. Her hand still burned from touching the core flame. Her body felt heavy. Her heart beat too fast. But it wasn't just the pain, it was the whispers, soft, low, and cruel. They echoed inside her helmet now, voices she recognized. Her mother, her old commander, her dead sister. They spoke her failures aloud like poison. "You let her die. You weren't fast enough. You weren't strong enough." She stumbled. The whisper grew louder. Dane noticed and turned back. "It's starting," he said. "It gets inside your mind." She pressed her palms to her helmet, trying to block it out. "This is just in my head, it's not real." "That's what it wants you to think," Dane said. "But if you believe the lie, it becomes real. That's how it kills." Solari growled furious. "I'm not weak." "No," Dane agreed. "But you're wounded, and this place knows." They reached a metal door, half buried in the wall. Dane kicked it open and the two stepped into what looked like an old control room. Dead screens, dusty chairs, broken glass. For a moment, the air was quiet. Solari leaned against the wall. Her breathing was rough. Her hands trembled. She tried to steady herself, but something shifted in the corner of her eye. She looked up and froze. Across the room, her sister Zira stood again. This time her face wasn't peaceful. It was twisted, in rage, burned, cracked. Smoke rose from her mouth. "You left me," Zira snarled. Solari shook her head. "You're not real." "I screamed for you," the ghost whispered. "You ran." Solari raised her blaster. "You're not real." She fired. The ghost shattered into dust, but her hand still shook. Dane watched from the side. "It's getting stronger." Solari turned to him. "Why is it only showing her?" "Because that's your wound," he said. "The one you never healed. She died in a fire. I tried to save her." "But you didn't," Dane said quietly. "And you've hated yourself ever since." She didn't answer. She couldn't. The whispers returned. Now they laughed, teased. Her eyes stung. Her armor felt tighter, heavier. Her knees almost gave out. Dane stepped closer. "You have to face it, or it'll keep feeding." "Face what?" she snapped. "Your guilt. Your truth." She looked away, breathing hard. Her vision blurred for a moment. Then, everything changed. She was no longer in the control room. She was back on the burning training ground. Flames all around, screams in the air. Zira was trapped under the rubble. "Help me," her sister cried again. Solari ran forward, panicking. "I'm here. I've got you." She grabbed at the rubble, hot, heavy, but it wouldn't move. Zira screamed. "Why are you so slow?" Solari pulled harder. Her gloves melted, her skin blistered. Smoke filled her lungs. Suddenly, Zira's hand slipped from hers and vanished under the fire. "No," Solari screamed. She dropped to her knees. Then, silence. The fire faded. The smoke cleared. Dane's voice called gently. "It's not real. You're still with me." Solari blinked, and the room returned. She was on the floor, crying, her face twisted in pain, but her hands clenched into fists. "It's not my fault," she whispered. I tried. Dane knelt beside her. "That's what it wanted. For you to believe you failed, when you never stopped fighting." She looked up at him. Her tears slowed. Her breathing calmed, and, for the first time, the whispers went silent. Dane gave a nod. "You passed the second trial." I didn't do anything, she said weakly. You did more than fight, he said. You faced your ghost. Solari sat up slowly, staring at her scarred hand. I came here for power, she said, but now it feels like the power is tearing me apart. It always does, Dane said. The core doesn't give strength to the proud, only the broken. She narrowed her eyes. Is that what you are? Broken? He smiled faintly. No, just awake. Suddenly, a loud sound came from the wall. A hatch opened. Inside was a long spiral staircase made of glowing stone. Solari stood, her legs steady again. What's down there? Dane's smile faded. The final challenge. She stared into the tunnel. More pain? Not pain, he said. A choice. Solari looked down the stairs, then back at Dane. For once, she didn't argue. She simply walked forward and stepped into the dark. The stone staircase spiraled down into the earth like a winding snake. Each step glowed faintly beneath Solari's boots, but the deeper she went, the colder the air became. She didn't look back. Dane had stayed behind in the control room. She wasn't sure why. Maybe he had faced this path already, or maybe he couldn't go any further. The walls pulsed gently as if they were alive. Her fingers brushed one, warm like skin. She pulled back quickly, her breath sharp. Something about this place felt wrong in a different way than before. It wasn't fear. It was something deeper. Regret. She finally reached the bottom. Before her stood a wide circular chamber, lit by a glowing pool of liquid light in the center. Around it, strange symbols floated in the air like dust. The ground was smooth, untouched by time, and standing in front of the pool was herself. But different. This other Solari had darker armor, cracked and burned. Her eyes glowed white. Her expression was hard, angry. She stared at the real Solari like a mirror without mercy. So, the dark copy said, voice cold, you made it this far. Solari raised her blaster. You're not real. I'm more real than you, the other snapped. I'm the part you've buried. The side that wanted power so badly you let your sister die. Solari's hand tightened on her weapon. She died because I couldn't save her in time. No, the copy hissed, stepping closer. She died because you chose glory over her life. You always did. You wanted to be the strongest. You trained harder than anyone else, and when it came down to her or the mission, you chose the mission. That's a lie, Solari whispered. It's the truth you refuse to face, the copy said. And now, the core demands more than just memories. It demands a sacrifice. Suddenly, the pool in the center began to rise, forming into a glowing creature, tall, faceless, with arms like smoke and fire. Its voice boomed, shaking the chamber. Pride has a price. Pay it, or perish. Solari spun to run, but the door behind her had vanished. The creature lashed out. She dodged barely in time, rolling to the side. Her blaster fired. Once, twice, but the shots went through the beast like wind. It roared, and the pain returned, burning, her veins twisting her stomach. She screamed and fell. The dark copy laughed. You can't kill it. You must choose. Solari gasped, crawling back. Choose what? Power. Or peace. The pool rippled again. Two glowing paths appeared before her, one toward the orb of the core flame shining bright gold. The other, a long tunnel bathed in blue light, peaceful and still. The voice returned. Take the flame and live with power. Leave it and live with truth. Solari looked at her hand, still scarred, still shaking. All her life she had trained for this moment. She had bled for it. She had crossed galaxies to prove she was the best. But now, she wasn't sure anymore. The dark copy growled. You want to be remembered? Take the power. Rule them all. Make her death mean something. No, Solari said softly. Her death already means something. It means I must never forget what pride can cost, the creature screamed, lunging again. But this time Zeleri didn't run. She turned toward the blue path and walked forward, even as fire licked at her heels. The pain returned, sharper than ever. Her armor cracked, her vision blurred, her legs nearly gave out, but she kept going. She reached the blue light, and as her fingers touched it, everything vanished. She woke, lying on cool stone. Dane sat nearby, arms crossed, watching her with quiet eyes. You made your choice, he said. Zeleri nodded slowly. I didn't take the core, he smiled faintly. That means it gave you something better. What? She asked. Freedom, he said. From yourself. She looked down at her hands. The scar was gone. The whispers were gone. For the first time in years, her heart was quiet. Dane stood and offered a hand. Come on, there's still a way out of this place. Zeleri took it. As they walked up the newly formed staircase back toward the surface, she glanced at him. Did you go through it too? He nodded. We all do. The ones who survive anyway. And what did you choose? He looked ahead, eyes thoughtful. I chose to wait for someone who wouldn't make the same mistakes. Zeleri smiled, just a little. Well, I almost did. Almost is still alive, Dane said. And with that, they walked toward the light. Zeleri and Dane climbed the stone steps in silence, their boots echoing softly against the glowing surface. The air grew warmer with every step. It was strange. After so much pain, fear, and noise, this silence felt heavy. But for the first time, Zeleri didn't want to speak. She felt something in her chest that wasn't pride or anger or even strength. It was stillness. As they reached a flat platform overlooking the shattered world above, a soft wind greeted them. The sky was gray, filled with clouds. The ruined mountains of Cryon stood like broken towers all around them. This place was death, but now it felt less like a battlefield, and more like a memory. Zeleri looked at Dane. His back was to her. He stared out across the wreckage with quiet eyes. His coat flapped gently in the breeze. You've been here a long time, she said. He nodded without turning. 7 years. Her brows rose. Alone? Not at first, Dane said. There were others. My team. 5 of us. What happened? He turned toward her slowly. His face didn't change, but his eyes darkened. We were soldiers, sent here to retrieve the core flame. Same as you. Thought we were strong enough. Trained. Brave. We were wrong. Zeleri stepped closer. Did they? They all died, he said quietly. One by one, he sat down on a flat rock and looked at the cracked dirt under his boots. We landed near the south ridge, found ruins. Tech. We thought it was abandoned. Then the whispers started. Small things at first. A voice. A shadow. A dream. No one talked about it, but it grew. We started fighting each other, arguing, paranoia, fear. Zeleri listened without speaking. Dane's voice was calm but distant. My commander walked into a mirror and never came out. One of us tried to burn the ship to stop it from speaking. My best friend shot himself in the chest because he thought someone was inside his mind. Maybe there was. Zeleri sat beside him. How did you survive? He gave a sad smile. I left them. I ran. She blinked, surprised. You ran away? He nodded. Yes, I saw them losing control. I felt it in myself too, but something in me whispered, run or die, and I ran. Zeleri was quiet for a while. You think that was weakness? I thought so, he said. For a long time I hated myself. For surviving. But you're still here. He nodded. That's when I realized something. Sometimes surviving means letting go of what you thought made you strong. She looked down at her gloved hands. That's what this place does, doesn't it? It strips you down until you see who you really are. Yes, he said, and most people don't like what they see. Zeleri looked toward the distance. The wind brushed her face like cold fingers. I used to think I had no limits. That, if I just trained harder, pushed further, I could become something more. But maybe strength isn't about never breaking. Maybe it's about knowing when to stop. Dane finished. They sat in silence again. After a moment, Zalari asked, "Why did you stay all these years?" He shrugged slightly. "I wanted to leave. I even tried. But every time I reached the edge of the valley, the planet pulled me back, like it wasn't done with me, like I had to face what I'd buried." "And did you?" Dane looked at her. "Not until today." She narrowed her eyes. "Me? You made it further than anyone else," he said. "You listened. You changed. Watching you face yourself, it freed something in me, too." Zalari blinked. "You mean, we can leave now?" A soft chime echoed through the air. The mountain behind them opened with a slow, grinding noise, revealing a long metal ramp leading upward. A small shuttle rested at the end, its lights blinking green. Dane stood slowly. "Looks like the planet agrees." Zalari rose too, her heart beating faster. "But if we leave," she said carefully, "will we remember all this?" Dane looked at her with a strange expression. "We'll remember what matters." She gave a small smile. "Good, because I don't want to forget." He nodded. "Neither do I." They walked toward the ramp side by side, leaving behind the whispers, the pain, and the ghosts that once ruled the ruins. Above them, the clouds began to break. A soft light spilled over the mountains, touching their faces as they climbed, and for the first time since either of them arrived, the world of Cryon felt peaceful. The shuttle door creaked open as Zalari and Dane stepped inside. The interior was dusty but functional, old human tech patched and welded together with care. Zalari ran her hand across the console. "You built this?" Dane nodded. "From scraps, took me years. It only needed one last signal from the mountain to unlock it." Zalari glanced back through the door. The stone mountain behind them was quiet now. No whispers, no strange lights. The nightmare, it seemed, had ended, or so she thought. She sat in the co-pilot's chair and looked out the front window. But something felt off. Too quiet. Too easy. Dane powered up the engines. "Give it a few minutes, it'll warm." A deep rumble shook the ground. Zalari stood. What was that? The sky outside darkened like a storm was coming. But there were no clouds, just shadows spreading across the ground from the center of the ruins. Something massive was rising. Dust flew into the air. Rocks cracked and trembled. Dane stood beside her, eyes wide. "No, it can't be." "What is that?" Zalari asked, moving toward the shuttle's door. As she stepped out, the earth shook again, and from the broken remains of the core chamber, a massive creature began to crawl upward. It had no face, only shifting limbs made of shadow and smoke. Its body twisted unnaturally, as if made of the regrets and pain of everyone who had died on Cryon. The whispers returned, not gentle now, but screaming. "You left them. You let them die. You ran. You ran." Zalari's body froze as the voices echoed through her bones. She turned to Dane, who stood frozen in place, face pale. "It's not over," she said. He nodded slowly. "It's the last test." The creature fully emerged now, taller than any structure left standing. It screamed with the voices of the past, each cry a blade of guilt and sorrow. Zalari activated her armor and stepped forward. "Then we face it." Dane grabbed her arm. "You can't kill it with weapons. It's made of what we carry. Not the same anymore," she said. "And neither are you." He looked at her, truly looked. His fear faded. "Then let's end this." Together, they ran toward the beast. It didn't charge. It waited, watching. As they drew close, the whispers focused on Zalari again. "You wanted to be strong. Now show your strength." She raised her weapon and fired, but the shot passed through the creature like wind. Dane threw a flare grenade, but it vanished inside the shadow. "This won't work," he shouted. Zilari lowered her weapon and looked up at the monster. "Then we do something else." She stepped forward slowly, hands raised. The whispers grew louder. "You let her die. You were proud, arrogant, weak." Zilari didn't argue this time. "I was proud," she said softly. "I did want power. And yes, I failed her." The creature hesitated. "But I'm still here," she continued. "And I won't run anymore." The creature screamed and lashed out. Zilari stood her ground. The smoke hit her, but instead of burning, it passed through her harmlessly. Behind her, Dane shouted, "Tell it the truth." "I'm sorry," she said, louder now. "I'm sorry for everything." The shadows flickered. The creature shrieked again, but this time weaker. Dane stepped beside her. "I watched them die, and I ran. I hated myself for living. But I've waited long enough. I forgive myself now." The creature began to break apart, its form shaking like a reflection in water. Zilari stepped closer. "I forgive myself too." With those words, the creature collapsed inward. The screams turned into silence. The air became still. The shadow dissolved into dust, and the light returned. Zilari dropped to her knees, breathing hard. Dane put a hand on her shoulder. "It's over." She looked up, tears in her eyes but smiling. We passed. A soft hum filled the air. The core flame, small and golden, rose from the dust and floated toward them. It pulsed gently, no longer angry. It had changed too. Zilari reached out, but this time she didn't grab it. She bowed her head instead. The core shimmered, then slowly floated into her chest, merging with her armor. No pain, only warmth. Dane stared in awe. "It chose you." Zilari stood tall. "It chose us. Because we didn't fight our demons, we faced them." Together they returned to the shuttle. No more earthquakes, no more screams, just peace as the engines lit up and the shuttle rose into the sky. The world of Cryon grew smaller below them, and in that rising silence, Zilari knew she was finally free. The shuttle soared high above Cryon's surface, leaving behind the broken ruins, the dust-filled skies, and the echoing whispers of the past. Zilari stood by the front viewport, staring down as the gray world grew smaller and smaller. The planet, that had once called to her with promises of power, now looked silent, peaceful, distant. Dane sat in the pilot's chair, hands steady on the controls. The quiet hum of the engines filled the space, and for the first time since she'd met him, Zilari saw peace on his face too. Not joy, not excitement, but peace, the kind that came after letting go. "Where to now?" Dane asked, breaking the silence. Zilari didn't answer right away. She was still trying to understand what had happened down there. The core flame was inside her now, but it didn't feel like power. It felt like memory, like pain turned into strength. And it burned quietly in her chest, not to conquer, but to guide. "Not back home," she finally said. "I don't think I belong there anymore." Dane nodded like he understood exactly what she meant. "People think survival is about running from pain," he said. "But maybe it's about carrying it the right way." Zilari turned toward him. "You waited 7 years to leave Cryon. What will you do now?" He gave a small smile. "I think I'll follow you. You seem to be good at walking toward trouble." She chuckled softly. "Only this time, I'll listen before I leap." They both laughed. It was a quiet sound, but real, honest. The shuttle passed through the last layer of Cryon's cloudy sky. Above them stretched the deep black of space, vast, open, full of stars. Zilari looked ahead, her heart steady. She thought about her sister, Zira's, face in that burning memory, twisted in fear, then in blame. But that face wasn't real. It had been the guilt talking, the core feeding on regret. The truth was, she had tried. She had fought. She had cried. And she had carried that guilt for too long now. She could let go. You never told me what the core showed you, Dane said after a while. Solari didn't look at him. She kept her eyes on the stars. It showed me what I feared most, that I was never enough, that I would always fail those who needed me. And now, he asked, now I know. Being enough doesn't mean being perfect. It means showing up, trying, facing your weakness, not hiding from it. Dane gave a long breath. Sounds like something the old me needed to hear. She smiled. It's something I still need to remind myself every day. They flew in silence for a while, the stars slowly drifting by. Then the core inside her pulsed. She placed a hand over her heart, feeling the warmth. It's still here, she said, still watching. It doesn't control you, does it? No, she replied. It listens. It knows who I am now, and that's why it chose. Dane looked at her carefully. So what will you do with it? She thought for a moment. I don't want to use it for war, or for proving myself. I think it was never meant for that. Then what was it meant for? To heal, she said softly. To show others what it showed me. That pain doesn't have to destroy you. It can build you. He gave her a nod. You're not the same warrior who walked into that crater. No, she said. That version of me had pride. This one has purpose. Outside, a nearby star cast golden light into the shuttle. The darkness faded. A new world sparkled in the distance, green and blue and untouched. A planet not marked by battle or sorrow. Solari pointed. That one. Dane adjusted course. A new start. She nodded. For both of us. As they approached the planet, the stars shifted, and for a moment the core flame inside her pulsed again, brighter than before. Like it too was ready to begin again. Solari closed her eyes and let that light fill her. The price had been paid. Not in blood, not in battle, but in truth. In facing what she had feared, and finally, forgiving herself. The shuttle entered the new world's orbit, gliding gently toward a future not yet written.